Hey everyone, Forerata live here with another Mass Mutation deck preview. This time I'll be looking at Mehetabel, host of the Hustling Repository, so one of the 4 decks that FFG released as print and play decks. There's a link in the description below to where you can download these decks, have a look at them yourselves, print them at home, play with them. So it's another great deck, and let's get into having a look at it. So let's have a look at the deck list. First of all, the overall stats. So it's a Dis Sanctum Star Alliance deck, and compared to the other decks, this one does stand out as a little bit different. So creatures, you can see 24 creatures. So on average in Kota and AOA Worlds Collide, when you look at the whole set, all 3 sets, you're looking at an average of about 17 creatures, 16, 17, 18 in a deck. So this is pretty high. This is a pretty high creature count, and I can tell you that it's mainly coming from Star Alliance. Star Alliance has 10 creatures in this deck out of the 12 Star Alliance cards, so that's a bit of an outlier. Now the other decks, I've sort of said, you know, you'd expect these sample decks to be pretty much middle of the bell curve, you know, fairly middle of the road in terms of power level, but something a bit odd with this one coming up a bit different, and because it's got so many creatures, that number of actions is really low. So 14 actions, again pretty much average in terms of the previous sets. So you can see it's got half the number of actions, 3 artifacts, 2 upgrades, so that's pretty much normal. Looking at the pips, so counting pips on the card plus enhancements, here you've got 9 amber pips, 2 capture pips, 5 draw pips, 1 damage pip, so quite a few draw pips. Amber pips pretty low compared to the others, so when you look at the other decks, there were 4 released at the same time. Cyclonium Chamber Agent had 10 amber pips, Rapidly Ever-Changing Sadao had 13, Wu, the Naturalist of Karkis, had 16, which was a massive number of amber pips, huge number on that deck. Here 9, so that feels pretty low. And again, these are sample decks, it's hard to know how it's going to play out when we get into the real ones, but it doesn't look great in terms of the amount of amber on the cards, so just playing through this deck isn't going to generate anything like as much amber as some of the other ones we've looked at. But hey, let's get into the cards. Let's have a good look at the cards themselves. So first off with this, Bonesaw, 5-power creature. We've seen this one now revealed on stream and in some of the other decks I've reviewed. If a friendly creature was destroyed, this turn Bonesaw enters play ready. So a nice effect if you can pull it off, if not 5-power creature, nice piece of artwork. Next up, Imp Spectre, another creature, 2 power. Destroyed, your opponent purges a random card from their hand. So I've said this before, but I like Imp Spectre. I like anything that gives you some hand control, anything that makes your opponent discard is good. In this case it purges, so even better. Next card, another creature, Cinder, 6 power. In this case it's got an enhancement with a draw card, but 6 power, 2 armor. It's got Taunt, Reap, destroy a friendly creature, so good to have on board, pretty strong. It's got Taunt, but you're probably going to want to fight with it. Reap, destroy a friendly creature, generally not going to be too helpful, but then again you've got creatures in your battle line maybe that you do want to destroy or you do want to get rid of that have a nice destroyed effect, in which case this is a pretty good way to trigger it. Got to get Cinder into play, got to get Cinder ready and Reap with it, but then you can destroy that creature, so in some decks that's going to be a pretty useful effect. Next up, Snarette, so this is the mutant version of Charette, so 4 power. At the end of your turn, capture 1. Action, move each amber from Snarette to the common supply. So end of your turn you're capturing, and then once you've built some up on Snarette you can use an action to move it to the common supply. So you could play this down, call some different houses for a couple of turns, then come back to Dis and you'd find yourself with a fair bit of amber on here. So it's going to be a target for your opponent. They're going to need to get rid of it, 4 power, so it's not easy to just instantly get off the board. If they stay in play, this could be pretty powerful and you're going to be able to get that captured amber for yourself. There's a second one in the deck. Then we move on to Stirring Grave. This is an action. Comes with an Amber Pip. Play, archive a creature from your discard pile. So that's a nice card. A good bit of recursion to get stuff back out your discard pile, back into play. Can't get it straight into play, but you can archive it and you're in control. So I like that. There's a second one here, so not only coming with the Amber Pip, but it's also been enhanced with a Capture Pip and a Draw Pip, so that makes it a pretty powerful card. And we've seen from some of the other decks that there are some cards that synergize well with sort of reusing or getting additional effects from cards with pips on. So the fact you've got a card with 3 pips on starts to make this quite powerful if there are cards that can play off that. Another action next, Waking Nightmare, comes with an Amber Pip, enhance capture, so there's one extra capture icon in the deck. Play, keys cost +1 for each disc creature in play during your opponent's next turn. So if you've got a number of disc creatures out on the board, and this deck only has 6 disc creatures in it, so you're going to be lucky to have them all out at one time, but it does pump up the key cost for one turn. So that could be handy. That could get you out of the hole if they're just on check, on 6 or 7 amber maybe, but you're going to need to have a few disc creatures out to make it worthwhile. Double Doom, this is a nice action card that we've seen in one of the other decks. Play, return an enemy creature to its owner's hand, and your opponent then discards a random card from their hand. So get something off the board straight away, and they're going to discard something from their hand, which could be that card. So I really like this, and again, I like stuff that's causing your opponent to lose cards out of their hand. An artifact next, Essence Scale, comes with an Amber Pip, action, destroy a friendly creature. If you do, ready and use a friendly creature that shares a house with the destroyed creature. So this allows you to do a little bit of out of house cheating, destroy a creature that you've got out in play from one house, and then you can ready and use another creature in that house. So yep, you're sacrificing a creature, but you're getting to use someone potentially out of turn. Dance of Doom action, we've seen this one before, but it's a nice card to see coming back. Play, choose a number to destroy each creature with power equal to that number. Next up, Umbra Fiend. This is one of the mutant combination name creatures. It's got 2 power. It's elusive, so that's the Umbra part from Shadows, and then Fiend is the Dis creature version, so comes with the Dis ability, destroyed, steal 1. So elusive, destroyed, steal 1, 2 power. I'm not thinking this is the best. I've seen better ones of these mutants, to be honest. Much more powerful effects and much stickier in terms of staying on the board. So let's move on to Sanctum. So Sanctum, there are 8 creatures from Sanctum in this deck. First one up is a Mutant Bulwark, 4 power, 1 armor. We've seen this one on the reveal streams. Assault 2, and each of Bulwark's neighbours gains Assault 2 as well. So this is very much more an attacking version of this creature rather than defense. Champion Anafiel, 6 power, 1 armor, Spirit Knight Taunt. So this is again a card we've seen in previous sets, and it's pretty powerful in terms of protecting your battle line. Here it's been enhanced with a Capture Pip. And there's a second one here with no enhancement. And then we get on to Cleansing Wave. Action, play, heal 1 damage from each creature, gain 1 amber for each creature healed this way. So if there's a load of damage out on the board, this can be a pretty powerful way to gain a lot of amber. So pretty pleased to see this in the deck. Font of the Iron artifact. Omni, if an enemy creature is destroyed this turn, a friendly creature captures 1. Okay, that's helpful. Got it out each turn. It's not going to change the world, but okay. Seeker of Truth, 3 power, 1 armor creature. Fight. You may fight with a friendly non-Sanctum creature. 3 power, 1 armor, so it's not going to be able to go up against anything particularly strong, but if you can get a fight off with this, you can fight with a friendly non-Sanctum creature. I don't know, fighting's not been great unless it takes on more of a focus in this set. I think you're probably going to end up reaping with this guy instead of using him to fight. Squire Alice, 2 power, 2 armor, play, capture 2. So a bit like a kind of Sanctum Ronnie. I kind of like this card here. It's got a damage pip. It's got 2 armor, so it's going to hang around. You can use it to fight, you can use it to reap, but it's really all about the play effect. Capture 2, instant capture, very nice. And there's a second one in the deck. Barrister Joya, another creature, 5 power, 1 armor, enemy creatures cannot reap. So this has been devastating in Sanctum decks before. If you get this out and they can't get it off the board, you can really stall people who are relying on their battle line to reap to get them their amber. So then we move on to an upgrade, Shoulder Armor. Comes with a pip. While this creature is on a flank, it gets +2 armor and +2 power. So yeah, nice upgrade. Gives something a bit more staying power on the board. And then Exchange Officer. So this is one of the sort of special rarity creatures. And what it means is when there's an Exchange Officer in the deck, it means that in this case there's a Sanctum creature in Star Alliance. So basically this has caused a switch between a Star Alliance and a Sanctum creature. So it's in Sanctum, it's got an Amber Pip, but that's an enhancement. It's got a Play, Fight, Reap effect, user-friendly Star Alliance card, so that allows a bit of house cheating. So this is something, I like this, and dependent on what you get exchanged, this could cause some pretty interesting combos to appear in decks. Artifact, Matter Maker next, 1 Amber Pip. You may play upgrades as if they were in the active house. So that's one way to get some upgrades out of your hand and into play. To be honest, there's only 2 upgrades in this deck, and not seen too many decks. None of these mass mutation decks had a huge number of upgrades in from the ones we've seen. So unless there's a whole load more in the main release, not sure how powerful this one's going to be. Okay, so let's move on to Star Alliance. So first up, another champion, Anaphiel, and this is the one that's exchanged with the Exchange Officer. So you've got a Star Alliance version of it. Otherwise, it's the same though: 6 power, 1 armor, and taunt. But this is that creature that's been swapped between Star Alliance and Sanctum. Next up, an upgrade, Access Denied, 1 Amber Pip. This creature cannot reap, so this is a nice card to play on one of your opponent's creatures that's going to rely on reaping to get some key effects off maybe, and this just gives you an Amber Pip and blocks them, so yeah, pretty handy. Commander Chan, creature we've seen before, Fight, Reap, use another friendly creature, one of the mainstays of Star Alliance in Worlds Collide if you wanted those strong decks that you just keep calling Star Alliance again and again. New creature now, Scout Pete. We saw this on one of the reveal streams, 4 power, got a Play, Fight, Reap effect. Look at the top card of your deck, you may discard that card. So you look at the card, you can either discard it if you don't want that to come up, or if you don't discard it, it goes back on the top of your deck. So you're getting a good idea what's coming next. Secura Droid, 4 power. We saw this in Wu, the Naturalist of Kharkis, as well. It's got Taunt, but I guess the main thing, a bit like Explore Rover, is you can play this as an upgrade instead of a creature and give a creature Taunt. So you'll need to make that choice. 4 power is reasonable, not the strongest thing to have Taunt on, but nice card. Next is a Mutant, Subject Kirby. Play, Fight, Reap. You may play a non-Star Alliance creature this turn, so it's a kind of mutated version of Kirby that we know before. That's a really good effect. So I think Subject Kirby rather, is going to be another good card to have in your Star Alliance suite. Next up, an action card, Survey. So we've seen this one before as well in other decks from this print and play. Comes with an Amber Pip. Here it's enhanced with a Draw Pip. Play, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, discard one of them. I think I said in the previous review, so-so. It could be helpful. It's good to know what's coming in your deck. It's not the most powerful action, and I think it's taking up a slot in your deck in terms of cards. So Amber Pip enhancement, yeah, okay, but not the best in the world. Next up, another creature, Teleporter Chief Tink, 2 power. It's an alien creature. It's got elusive. Action: swap Teleporter Chief Tink with another friendly creature in your battle line. You may use that other creature this turn. So rather than reaping with Teleporter Chief Tink, you're basically swapping its position with someone else and then getting to use that other creature out of house. So I think that's going to be a pretty handy effect to have. So I quite like that card. Next up, another creature. It's a robot this time. Antony, Ant 1, 1 and E, 6 power. Play, capture all of your opponent's amber. At the end of your turn, move 1 amber from Antony to your opponent's pool. So capturing all of your opponent's amber, that's going to get you out of jail on a number of occasions, so that's pretty powerful. At the end of your turn though, 1 amber goes back every turn, so it's, if you can't get it off Antony, if you can't use it in some way, then eventually your opponent's going to get it back. But if they've got a big pile of amber built up, 6, 7, 8 or more amber, and you capture all of that, yeah, they're going to get it back, but it's going to take a long time, and they're going to have to kill this creature off if they want it quickly. So I like that. That could be very disruptive. Again, it's a bit of a kind of save yourself when your opponent's on check kind of card. Away Team, another creature. Like I said, a huge number of creatures in Star Alliance in this deck. So this is a 5 power creature. I like the artwork because it is a whole Away Team that's out there. And Destroyed, put each upgrade on Away Team in its owner's archive. So if you compile the upgrades on this creature, then even if it gets destroyed, you're going to get them archived and be able to bring them back. Now, like I said, there's only 2 upgrades in this deck, so nothing too special here, but you can see in other decks, if you got the right combination of cards, that could get pretty nasty. And now Mutagenesis Researcher, so 3 power creature, so nothing special in that regard, but really it's all about the enhancement. So this is one of those cards, a bit like Amphora Capturer in Saurian, that really pumps up the number of pips in your deck. So here you're adding an amber pip, a capture pip, a damage pip and a draw pip into the deck. So really that's the purpose of this card. Of itself, 3 power creature, yeah, fine, get it out on the board, but it's not gonna do too much. It's about having that enhancement going into your deck. And lastly, but by no means least, Ensign El Samra, another 3 power creature. Here it's got a draw enhancement, but puts 3 draw enhancements into your deck, which for me I really like being able to draw through my deck quickly, so I'm happy to see the draw pips coming up. And Ensign El Samra's got an action: reveal a card from your hand, resolve its bonus icons as if you had played it. So again, like I was saying on previous videos, there are some cards in Mass Mutations, just from what we've seen so far, that really synergize well with cards that have a lot of pips on. So this is another one where if you have Ensign El Samra in a deck and you have cards in your deck with 2, 3, 4 pips on, because they've got amber pips and then they've got enhancements, and that's just how they've been randomly assigned in your deck. Being able to reveal that card in this case, or some of the other ones require you to play it or play it after a card, and get that kind of extra utilization out of those pips, could be really powerful. So I'm definitely getting the impression that having a lot of bonus pips from enhancements is good, but having them concentrated on a few cards could be more damaging and more powerful overall, rather than just being spread evenly across the deck, because you're then able to use cards like the Ensign here to get some real extra bonus benefit out of them. So that is the whole deck. That was Mehitabel, host of the Hustling Repository. Like I say, very different to the other 3 decks we saw, which all felt kind of much of a muchness in terms of the distribution of creatures, actions, artifacts, upgrades, and very much middle of the road in terms of averages compared to previous sets. This one, a bit of an outlier, and definitely for me, some nice creatures in Dis. I like the Snarets, they're quite good. I like the Exchange Officer. And putting a Sanctum card into Star Alliance and having a Sanctum card, the exchange officer in Sanctum, that allows you to play a Star Alliance card. So there's some good house cheating there. And then Star Alliance, yep, it's got 10 creatures. Is one thing, but some of them are really, really good. And Ensanel Samra I can see being really, really powerful in decks with a lot of pips on a few cards. So some nice cards in there, some nice variations on what we saw from Star Alliance in Worlds Collide. And again, it's sort of starting to really get excited now about Mass Mutations. I think it was really good that they released these decks for print and play. Started to build the hype train up about Mass Mutations. The gigantic creatures, maybe you can take it or leave it, but when you see decks like this and you look at the range of creatures and some of the effects, then yeah, even if there's nothing special in terms of synergies in this deck, you can see how in the right combinations there's going to be some really, really powerful cards in Mass Mutations. So overall, a really interesting deck to review. You can download and play this. The link to the FFG website is in the description below, where you can download PDFs of these, print and play them. I've printed them out at home myself. See what you think. If you've got any comments, I'd love to hear them below. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Check out the other deck analysis videos that I've done on these Mass Mutation decks, and you can get a good feel as well for what might be coming. Thanks for watching.